everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, live here in Summerville, South Carolina. Well, I got with me to my right a program that I believe, for me, touches my heart. I believe that these testimonies of what these two people to my right are doing can benefit you. We're talking to our military family. Military veteran myself, 13 years. It's been a great journey, but there has been some ups and downs, roller coasters, and I'm reaching out to you, my brothers and sisters, on all walk branches of life. There's a program here that I believe that can help you if you're going through it, or you know a family member who is going through it, or you're in the middle, like you're in the process and you still have not gotten over it. We're talking about Objective Zero. To my right, I have Miss Pamela A. Kelly and Mr. Justin Miller. How y'all doing?
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We'll go ladies first. Miss Pamela Kelly, her son died tragically, committing suicide. This is some time back. I'm going to let her talk more about this. I brought her to the panel to talk about Objective Zero, but also talk about her testimony. I know a lot of times what we do, we don't talk about the people who is left behind. There's a lot of things we can say, oh, that person, great service, get the flag, thank you for serving, great, but you don't talk about the aftermath effect. So, Miss Kelly, you have the floor to talk about your son, and let's talk about Objective Zero.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So I would begin by saying never in a million billion years would I have ever thought that suicide would touch my life or my family's life. And we all think we're immune to things that go on around us. And we think, oh, that could happen to my neighbor or someone in the next county or the next state, but it doesn't touch our lives. And 8 years ago, suicide did touch our lives. And so my son Aaron was a commander in the Navy in almost 18 years. And he was in total crisis with red flags happening. And it's amazing to me how God orchestrates everything. And I know it broke his heart for Aaron to make that decision to take his own life, but it just shows and speaks so loudly about what do we give our attention to. The more we focus on something, the more we get of that thing. What voices are you hearing in your head? And what voice has God given you to speak against those voices and to speak out His love, His truth? So I laid on my living room floor for 2 years crying out to God. And all I heard was, what are you going to do with this? And it's like, God, is that you or is that me? Saying, how am I going to go on? What am I going to do with my life after tragically losing my one and only child? And a word, that's just it. If we listen, God does speak to us, and He brings people into our lives. The word the Lord gave me was to focus on provision, from the smallest, littlest thing, a card in the mail, an invite for lunch, flowers at my doorstep, to the most amazing thing, and not to focus on the horrific, tragic loss that I just went through. Because if we keep our eyes focused on that, it's a done deal. We're done. And I have talked to women, I have talked to families, I've read books where women are just not even able to get out of bed and dress themselves because they go in a dark hole of depression and they stay there. And so I'm a firm believer that the Lord gives us all a destiny. He gives us an identity. And if you know who you are, who you belong to, he will give you the words and the power to walk in that identity. So not only did the Lord, has he used this tragedy, but Aaron's death was not in vain. He mentored many junior officers, and I believe that I am getting to live the legacy of him, of what he would desire and want. And that is that saying that we've all heard so many times, that our mess is our message. So it's like, what are you going to do with what the Lord has allowed to happen? And it's like, okay, so I just believe that, it has given me a platform to speak about identity, about justice, about love, about truth. And, suicide is such a rampant thing, not only in the military, but across all boards of life. We are seeing and reading and hearing about suicide. And we have, the Word of God says we have an enemy. He's out to rob, kill, and destroy. There's an assignment against every single one of us. And I don't know. I know I can go to bed at night and lay my head on my pillow and fall asleep knowing that my son Aaron is no longer suffering, no longer in torment, that he's whole, free, and happy. And I will see him again. I will see him again. So I have just such peace of mind. And, so when our young men and women are out in the war, everybody's got everybody's back, okay? So you come back and you try to get back into life, go to the grocery store, drop your kids off at school, pay your bills, mow your lawn, whatever it might do, and stuff happens. It's very overwhelming and stuff. And so just very excited to see that the VA is partnered with Objective Zero, this mobile app that Justin will definitely talk more about and stuff. So, and how God orchestrates. I moved here from Washington State 4 years ago to a little town, St. George. And in that little town, St. George, God has us meet, and what he is all about and what he's going through and how God connects people. He's all about relationships. He's such a relational God, and building and networking. And so I'm just very excited. I have my granddaughter turned 6 years old, and 3 weeks later she lost her daddy. And, in barely 6 years, everything that he put in her as a dad, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. My daddy taught me how to tie my shoes, and my dad taught me how to swim, and my dad taught me how to ride my bike. And so she now is 14. She wants to be a doctor. And so just very, very excited. God has opened doors. I've been able and blessed to be used to speak at a commander's call and a suicide prevention down at Joint Base Charleston and at the Naval Weapons Station, where 700 to 800 young men and women heard the message of aftermath and the ripple effect of suicide. If you see something, say something. Would you rather be going to someone's funeral, or would you rather have them pissed off at you because you got in their space and said, hey, what's going on? You're not yourself, or, And it's all about relationship and building relationship with people, having someone that you feel safe with and you can be vulnerable with, and which is very hard to do in the military because it's show no emotion, buck up, don't tell me how to do my job because I know how to do my job, carry on with excellence, and that's it. So we've got to start communicating. We've got to have our people that are in positions try to build relationship with their young men and women and ask questions and put those things, those barriers in place that will, if you know someone has a gun and they're legal and everything, but you know they have a gun and you notice that they're not themselves, so we need to put barriers in place to stop our military people from hurting themselves, killing themselves, hurting their families. So I am just excited to be able to speak about the aftermath and what God can do and the ability that He's given me to the healing process. And it's like the more light that is shed on the darkness goes away. You don't walk into a room and flip a light switch expecting to get darkness. When you flip that light switch, there is light, immediate light. So talking about it more, getting comfortable with it, as painful as it is and as hard as it is, God's given me the grace and is continually healing. So I just am excited and just so grateful and thankful to be able to do this and have this opportunity.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to, people who are watching, I just wanted to tell you, you're a very strong woman. I know a lot of times when they say, that's my only son, my mother only had one. And I know that for me,
Wow.
how impactful you put all it into one. That's all you got. Unfortunately, I'm blessed to have three, but I tell any parent, losing a child, no parent should ever bury a child. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Older funerals, military-wise, those are cool. They live their life. They're up there in age. But these younger ones, and they say, man, this person was 18, 25, 35, 40. They still living.
Mm-hmm.
You should never be burying those type of people, but it's becoming a reality. We have to stop this epidemic of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we can have a class all day long, but like we mentioned, we have to stop saying it's okay to tell somebody. It's okay to be a snitch. Hey, my brother and sister, they're going through. And commander, sir, ma'am, hey, help them. That's all I'm asking you right now. If they don't want to talk to me no more, I get it. I'm fine with it. But at the end of the day, I'd rather you duke it out with me while you're alive than not duke it out with me. And I'm playing that recording in your mind. Like, what could I have said? Like, man, I dropped the football. Man, I can't even look in that person's family member's face knowing that I could have said something. But I was too afraid that my friend was going to get in trouble. And I think that's where it is. So Mr. Justin, we're going to talk to you more, talk about your military service, talk about the app, and how Objective Zero has changed your life.
Okay. Well, 9/11 happened my senior year, and it's one of those days that I can still see, like, like it was yesterday. I remember walking into my English class. TV was on. Teacher was standing there. First building was on fire, and we wasn't sure what happened. While watching, we witnessed the second plane crash in. My teacher turned around to me crying, and that day just lit a fire. I decided to join the Army, decided to go infantry, and I wanted to go get revenge at that point. I wanted to go make sure that I didn't have to worry about my family dealing with that again. So I was deployed in August '04 to August '05, and while deployed, we left the gate, was hit by an IED that knocked me out. We went up the road a little bit to clear out of the explosion zone, and they were waking me up. My head was pounding, but they asked me if I was okay, so of course I did what everybody. I was looking around, I'm like, yep, everything's still attached. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I said, but my head's throbbing. So they pulled me out of the gun, put me in as the driver, and we went back to the explosion site, and we seen an Iraqi police truck. Well, we went to go see if maybe they saw something, and we started driving towards them. Well, they turned around and they started running from us. We're like, well, we're gonna follow them. There's something's wrong with this. So we're driving down, trying to chase them. Obviously, they're in a truck. We're in a 11,000-pound Humvee, not quite as fast as them. But as we make the left turn, we see them handing the camera off to a kid, and they go right. Long story short, we end up getting the camera, went and found those guys. But we came back to the house that they threw the camera into, to search it. So we went through, searched the building, and on the way out, the commander was like, hey, we need somebody to take pictures. I said, well, I got my camera. So I get in and I started taking pictures, showing me to destroy the place. And as I'm going up the first flight of steps, the lady comes running in the house screaming. My ears are still ringing from being blown up, so I can't really hear much. But she comes in screaming and in a panic mode. And as I'm making that turn on the balcony, she sees me, and she goes from a panic to an anger scream and starts screaming outside. I'm like, oh, this isn't right. Something's wrong here. So I start walking out, and as I'm walking out, these three guys are coming in the courtyard, all about my size or bigger, staring me down. I'm just like, well, this is not good. And I looked out in the alleyway, and it looked like a concert outside. It was wall to wall because everybody in the neighborhood came to see if the lady was okay. So now I'm surrounded by probably a couple hundred people, and there wasn't any of my guys anywhere in sight. Wow. So immediately I just said, well, all right, I need to put my back to the wall so nobody can come up and grab me. Put my weapon on semi. And as I know the vehicle was pointing towards the base. I know the main MSR was behind us. I knew where the main, the gate was. So I'm like, if I have to, I'm going to run back to base. And as I'm moving down that wall, they kept coming at me, trying to surround me. And, I was using my weapon, and I was jamming it into their chest, trying to push them back. But as I'm pushing this way, they're coming at me this way. So I just kept fighting back and forth until I hit an alleyway. And I took off sprinting down that alleyway. And I came up to a T intersection. I looked left, there was nobody. I looked right, 2 blocks down, the very last Humvee was getting ready to make the turn, and the gunner saw me, thank God. Mm-hmm. And so I turned, and as I turned to go run, a single gunshot rang off and hit the wall beside me. I turned around and looked behind me, and there was a crowd of about 10 to 15 Iraqis that were chasing me down. They saw that there was a Humvee with a gun pointing at them, so they all stopped. So that was just one of the incidents that really messed with me, being abandoned, being forgotten about, left behind. But long story short, I ended up doing 2 deployments. Came home the first deployment, and they told me, like, hey, you have PTSD, you need to go get help. So I went and told my leadership, I was like, hey, they're telling me I need to go get help. They're saying I got this thing called PTSD. This is the first I've really heard of it. And so I'm like, what do I do? He goes, well, what do you want to do in the military? I said, well, I love what I do. I love serving my country. I love all my brothers. And he's like, well, if you go to that appointment, your career's done. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? He goes, figure it out. So I turned to alcohol. Went and got married, trying to find something normal, something to grasp onto and make me feel normal. And I kept it all bottled up like it was something to be ashamed of or something to be embarrassed about. And but I had this craving to go back over, because over there I felt normal. Over there I was doing my job. It's like being in the NFL and going to the Super Bowl. That's what you train to do. So we went over for 15 months that time. During that deployment, just before the deployment, I found out my wife was pregnant. And 2 days before the deployment, I found out I was having a son. So I'm like, all right, well, my name's getting passed on. Awesome. I come home, son was born, turn around, go back, right back overseas 2 weeks later. Come back to find out that one of my best friends was killed. And things happen so fast over there, you don't have time to really, deal with it, process it. It's just, you got to move on. You got to keep your head straight. You got to do what you're told to do, what you know to do. Otherwise, it'll get more people killed. So you just put all them feelings behind you and drive on. So I come back from that deployment, and my son screaming and crying would trigger me. It would bring back memories of incidents that happened over there. My wife, even if she was just yelling at my son to stop doing something, that loud noise would trigger me. And this time I came back and I was told, hey, you probably have traumatic brain injury. You have all the signs of traumatic brain injury, TBIs, from being blown up. You definitely have PTSD. You need to go get checked out. Once again, go to my leadership. Once again, told, if you want to stay in the military, you better just not go to that appointment. Figure it out. Do what I do. Drank a few beers at the end of the night. Calm down. Well, those few beers turned into 12-pack, turned into an 18-pack, turned into, a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I just kept trying to numb the pain. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't know how to process it. So, comes around, the military finally says, you know what, you're non-deployable. Because my wife told me, she said, what good is the military do for us if you're not here? So she convinced me to finally go get help. That was when I was, officially diagnosed with PTSD. Was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, and they medically retired me. I was kind of excited, but at the same time, I had no idea what I was going into.
Yes, sir.
Completely different world. The military, you're told what to do. You already know from day one. They dress you. They tell you what to wear. They tell you how to look. Now I'm a civilian, and you're in charge. You are the one that has to make the decisions. And I went from being surrounded 5 days a week with people that knew what I was going through, who understood, who you could talk to, and stories would relate, to now I don't have anybody around me that understands, who can truly relate to what I'm going through. And I would talk to some people, and they would ask about my deployments and ask how my service was, and you start telling them stories, and they look at you like something's wrong with you. Like, there's no way you ain't doing that. That sounds. What'd you do? What did you see that off a movie? So then it just starts making you doubt yourself even more. You're like, man, these people don't even have a clue what it is that I'm dealing with. I don't want to talk to my wife about it because I don't want her having the visions in her head of what I did. I don't want her to think of me as a monster that has fought in a war. I don't want her to have those visions in her mind. I don't want her knowing that I'm suffering, that I'm dead inside, that I just didn't even want to live anymore. I quit sleeping because the nightmares were so real. I would rather stay up all night. I'd rather watch TV until I would fall asleep, and then, within an hour or two, I'm waking up from a nightmare completely soaked, can't breathe, just miserable. So then you're like, well, all right, well, I'm going on the couch and watching more TV. Well, I wasn't talking to nobody about it. I was just dealing with it. Like I've been told, drink water, drive on. And I woke up one night and after a nightmare, reliving me being left behind, and instead of me getting back with my people, I was actually knocked out because I was so tired and lacking sleep. When they hit me, I felt like I woke up, but my vision was blurry, and as I'm blinking my eyes, I'm now bound to a chair in front of a camera. They started beheading me, and I couldn't wake up. When my head hit the floor, looking at my body was when I finally jumped up out of my sleep. Couldn't breathe. Ran to the bathroom, started throwing up. My bed was soaked. I was soaked. And I just sat on the edge of my bed, and I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I felt like I was cancer. Like I felt like my family would be better off without me. Opened my nightstand drawer and I grabbed my pistol. The only reason why I'm here today is there wasn't a bullet in the chamber. Wow. The only thought that went through my head was, if I rack around into this chamber, it's going to wake up my wife. She's going to ask questions and I'm going to have to talk. And I wasn't ready to talk. I didn't know what to say. So my mother-in-law heard what was going on, and she said, how about you come to church, give it a try. I was born and raised in a Christian church, but I was angry at God. I'm like, how could you let this happen? How can you let all this evil go on? How could you let me go to war and see my friends die and let me survive? And so I went to church, and I was downright fighting it out with them. How dare you? What type of God lets this happen? And like you and I talking right now, I heard, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Quit boo-hooing. Look at everything that I've pulled you through. What good is it to know an answer to a secret if you keep it a secret? Take all the stuff that you've been through, that you're dealing with, that I've pulled you through, and share it. Let people know that there's hope, that there's an answer, that I'm the answer, that I can take this pain away. And my buddy prior to this asked me to write my story, and I was procrastinating. After that night at church, I'm like, well, how can I not share my story at this point? So I wrote my story. My buddy ended up getting it published, and he was originally like, hey, this is long, it's about a 30-minute read. He's like, expect 300 to 400 people to read it. Well, he finally hits me up. He's like, hey, it's published, it's live. I got it that night, so I waited the next morning to hit him up, and he's like, man, you're not going to believe this. He goes, we already have over 1,000 readers.
Wow.
By the end of the week, we were like over 5,000 readers. Well, then one of his friends from Georgetown University, I read an article, and he's like, hey, I got this idea. I got this app idea. Everything in the world's moving, the phones, apps. His idea was like Yelp for veterans. Find a place, location to go get help. But while doing research and trying to figure out what it is we could do, we found out that when most veterans decide to commit suicide, they do it in the first 5 minutes. She's like, man, we don't have time for a veteran to get on this app, try to find a place, try to get their number, call them, possibly be put on hold or sent to voicemail because they're, past office hours. She's like, man, we need something that's instant. And a lot of people don't go get help because it's afraid of what they're going to do, it's going to do to their career. So we need it to be anonymous. Give people the freedom to be able to pick up the phone, open our app, hit text, call, or video chat to somebody who just wants to listen, who cares, who loves you so much without even knowing you that they're willing to let you talk to them, and they're willing to give their outside, advice, give you a different way to look at life, look at the things you're going through, and then link you up to resources. So our app, right now we have, I think it's like, I want to say 3,600 people are actively using the app. We have almost 1,000 ambassadors that are trained in suicide prevention, that they can set up their schedule. You can go on, or you fill out your profile, set what days that you're available, whether you're comfortable taking text, calls, or video chat, and you go through the training to start answering calls. Now what's really great about the app is you can set up filters. You go on as a user, you're struggling, you're having a bad time. You might be a female suffering from military sexual trauma, and you might not feel comfortable talking to a guy. So you can go onto the app and you can go into this section. You can filter out all the males. If you're male, infantry, army, went to Iraq or Afghanistan, you can go on there and you can click, I want somebody who's in the army, who is active duty, who was in Iraq, who is infantry. That's who I want to reach out to, and it'll filter out everybody and leave only those people there. So that way when you connect to that person, because you've walked, talked, breathed, tasted, heard, smelled all the same things, you're more likely to have that instant connection. And the app now has been live for a little over a year, and it's saving lives. It's taken veterans that have been homeless, sleeping on the street, to be connected to an ambassador who cares, who they become friends with, and who have led them to resources to go get help, who ended up finding them a place to live, ended up getting them employed. We've had people that said that we've saved their life, saved their marriage, and it's free. It's there. We just need people to know about it, know that there are people out there who care, who, no matter what, want to see you make it through the next day, that you know that your life's appreciated. And so now my job is to share my story. My job is to speak, go and motivate people, inspire people, let them know that what you're going through is just a very short time, that you don't want to you don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction that's permanent for something that is gone within a minute or two. So that's what we're doing. On the face of Objective Zero, I've taken on the role to be the face of PTSD, the face of TBI, the face of suicide, and let people know that it's okay to have these feelings. It's normal. What we've seen, what we've been through, what we're, dealing with is normal. It's okay to feel like we do. It's okay to feel like it'd be easier to take your life. When it's not okay is when you don't talk about it. When I went through one of my therapy programs, I didn't share anything with my wife until 2013. We were married in 2005. So she never heard any of my stories because, like I said, I didn't want to pollute her mind. But while in therapy, they said, you know what? Without you telling your spouse or your family what it is you're going through, that their imagination is trying to connect the dots, trying to understand, and their imagination is endless. So what they know is what they're seeing on TV. So without you talking to them, they're struggling. They want to know. They're still with you for a reason because they care, they love you. They want to hear what you're dealing with. They need to know what you're dealing with so they can help you process it, so they can learn and understand what it is that's going on.
Amen. Amen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's a lot to take. Military veteran, like the stuff he talks about, that's a normal day. When he talks about, hey, you're in a situation to where you're in the middle of nowhere, you can't Google it, you can't hit Google Maps and say, take me home. You can see how God was there. 100 plus people, one person by yourself, you got maybe 15 rounds in the M4. Even if you are a great shot, the crowd would get you in a hostile takeover. It'd be like someone who just, snagged a dog, like you are an animal and a wild dog just tore apart a deer or an animal that's walking. That's what I've seen. I've seen wild dogs overseas just tear up an animal. And it's like little bitty dogs and that's what would have happened. And I'm not saying that everybody who's in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, places that we go overseas, that the people are bad, but you have to understand this. The perception is this. Remember, the lady was screaming and hollering and yelling, just like if anybody were to come outside of your front house and say, hey, someone's going through something, and the people, the neighborhood wants to figure out what's going on, they see him as a foreigner. And when you see a foreigner, what first thing you're going to say? He did something wrong. And all he's doing is to help. Remember, he just talked about, I just got blown up, unconscious, but then I checked myself out, make sure I'm good. All right, I'm back in it. I'm back in the fight. That's what you're taught. The military teaches you to get back into the fight. Ms. Pamela Kelly talks about, for instance, man, I lost my only son. Now what I'm going to do? But each story that these people have talked about, God spoke and gave them a couple sentences. He didn't give them no long speech. What you gonna do now? Why are you feeling sorry for yourself? If you've been saved like this, you gotta tell somebody something. What you gonna do? So, my plea to you all who are watching me right now, my brothers and sisters that are in this military fight, who are active duty, reserve, veteran, taking your life is the easy road. I'm gonna tell you that right now. There is an aftermath. There's a hell and there's a heaven. It's a heckified thing that you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. It's a heckified thing if you took your life so early and God tell you like, man, I had so much in store for you. Why did you take your life? But remember, there is a battle. It's an adversary. Satan's job is to kill, steal, and destroy. And speaking into your mind. Man, it's a battle. He talks about bullets flying and people. The traumatic thing is there, but then the mind starts getting into perception. Remember, you could die in your mind off a dream, off of anything small. She could have quit. Mama could have killed herself and said like, hey, I'm out, I'm done. It's a wrap. I lost my only son. That's it. It's over with. My time is done. I put him on this planet. He's been in the military 18 plus years. A commander, has a wife, has a family. I'm doing everything right, God. I'm knocking all the dots and the T's. Why you take my son? Justin said like, man, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Bullets are flying. I almost died in the IED. I see my friends die. I said, God, why are you putting me here? I'm in the middle of nowhere. My unit left me. That's a heckified thing. Because you questioning your brothers and sisters like, yo, accountability, where are you at? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Something that happened today or tomorrow. Are you going to tell my wife? Are you going to tell my son? I dropped the football. I don't know where my friend is. I couldn't tell you what happened to him. He turned the corner, and that's it. So, I want y'all to take Objective Zero seriously. I want you to download the app. Get it on your Android and your iPhone, your tablet. It's available to you. put these people available to you to come in to your home. www.objectivezero.org. Go on the website. The app has plenty of information to help you if you feel comfortable. Hey, give that call, that text, that video chat. Say, hey, I got an issue. It's a heckified thing. PTSD is serious, y'all. That is something. People talk about the military side. We ain't talking about law enforcement, things you may catch on the street, things you see people die. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't have like you in the military. Only military people can get that. Oh, you in this. But we want to focus right now is on our military brothers and sisters. There's people in the military dying every day off suicide. Boom. Someone has just died. Next day. They're dying. And nobody is talking about it. You can give a family member $400,000 all day long. $250,000, whatever the life insurance policy, depending on what it is, you may not get it. Mm-hmm. I hope people understand this. I'm talking to my military veterans. If you take your life, the life insurance policy may not give your family what it needs. That means your wife, my ladies, your husband, mom, dad, sister, and brother, you don't know who. They may not give it. Life insurance is very difficult. There's a lot of gray area there. So I want you all to take this serious. Because trust me, God got a plan. I thank y'all for coming.
Yes. Can I just say
Sure.
one thing? Just sitting here listening to Justin, and I remember when I spoke about the aftermath and ripple effect of suicide to these young men and women, I talked to them about, and this can be used in any phase of life, but it's like, put your night vision glasses on and see the enemy that's in your camp. Everywhere, anywhere. And what is that enemy? It's pride. It's self-preservation. It's self-focus. Take your eyes off yourself and look at the people around you. Who's in crisis? Who's in trouble? Who's saying things? Who's acting strange? And put yourself in their face, ask a question, ask another question, and ask not only good questions, but great questions that will draw them out. Because pride is really what took my son out. And it takes people out every day. You lose a job, you lose your family, you lose a friend, you lose your house. I mean, all because we stay stuck in our head and we don't step out of ourselves. So I would just, pride is the root of all sin. So thank you.
Amen.
Yeah. One last thing. You talked about the life insurance and stuff like that. You might think that you're leaving your family with something, but without you there, money means nothing. Yeah. Who's going to teach your son or daughter to tie a tie, go on their first date? With you not there, your daughter don't know what to look for in a husband. Now they're going to find somebody who's broken. Who's going to teach them to get ready for college, to fill out that application, learn how to drive. They need you. Whether you want to believe it or not, you are needed. Everybody needs you. Your wife, your family, your neighbors, right. People in your church, your unit. You are needed. You're loved. And you know what? You can't give up. Our app doesn't have to be just military or veterans. We cover all active duty, all veterans, all family members, and caregivers. Anybody can become an ambassador. Anybody who just honestly cares and is willing to answer a text, call, or video chat can sign up, be trained for free, be educated, and help save a life.
Amen.
I appreciate you bringing us on the show.
Oh man, like I said, I always gotta give a shout out to my brothers in the fight, and my sisters in the fight. The reason why I bring them here is because I've seen a lot myself. Drinking, I've never been a drinker. I never smoked in my life, but I seen a lot of my brothers and sisters when they seen a lot. That alcohol gets serious. I've seen literally Hennessy this big. Took 3 of them. It was down by this by the end of the night. Because they seen too much. Oh, they said like, man, I'm back in the States. And the first thing I'm going to do, man, I'm going to get the biggest thing possible. And I'm going to drink until I'm done drinking. And people think that's cool. That's fine. It's a heck of a thing when you got alcohol poisoning in you. It's a heck of a thing when that's your medicine to go to bed. It's a heck of a thing where you in those sweats and somebody touches you and you lash out. Remember that spouse, that person don't, they got to be careful. I had a major. His wife said she will never wake him up till he gets ready. Because he has reflexes. Couple steps, you grab him in the night, boom, 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 it's over. And that's real talk. Military teaches you to jump up. You get ready. They don't teach you like, rub my eyes and, oh my gosh. No, get up. When you hear that call, man, clothes on in seconds. I'm ready. If something's happening, it's move fast in a hurry. These things, we don't talk about these things. There's nothing wrong with someone saying, yo, I got PTSD. Yo, fix me up. But I'm still going out there. The military has a self-service type of attitude. It's crazy. A lot of people talk about deployments. You volunteer. I volunteered for mine. First one I didn't. I was, I got mad at God of that. I was a senior in college. I was pissed. I was upset. I like, Lord, I'm supposed to graduate first, then you deploy me. Don't deploy me when I'm in college now. I need to get my degree. I need to make that money. Second one, I volunteered for. Wife was pregnant and everything. I need the money. Bro. Oh, people don't talk about that. That military don't make no money. We don't make no money. We don't. We don't make a lot of money. Like if you get to the officer side, that's a little bit of money. But enlisted, man, you don't make no money. Not for no carry no wife and no kids. Heck no. I wouldn't. Okay, you better get down the road. So take this as a learning experience. I know it's a lot of information that we gave to you, but I want you to do this. If you see a military member, teacher, law enforcement officer, your pastor, your friend at home, give them a hug. Tell them how much you appreciate them. The person that's in the pew, give them a hug. You don't know what nobody going through. All right? That's all the time I got. My name is Calvin Logan, the Logan Power Show. Nationwide, worldwide, we love y'all. We'll see y'all next week.